Hello, I'm Karma Kitaj. I'm your host for A Livelihood, New Careers as We Age. And today I'm going to introduce you to Mini Katz, who found her passion when she was in her mid-60s. So we're going to find out what's that about and how she found it. Welcome, Mini.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah. So I have been hearing about all your wonderful new photography, and something which you started at a time in your life when most people are kind of withdrawing and getting more quiet and maybe not starting new things.
Right. I think that there are probably lots of reasons for that, but the one that I can most easily identify with is that I was working at Hampshire College, which most people know is a rather adventurous place, and I was working in the film and photography department in the library, and that's where I got to feel much more at ease with technology. And before that, I was very philosophically opposed to computers, and that that I had to admit that was just guise for being afraid of it. But being there at Hampshire, I was with a lot of these students who were really excited and really involved. The name that most people know as Ken Burns was there then, and Roger Sherman, and I did not see myself as someone who was the creative person, but I saw myself as someone who would appreciate it and who would encourage others, and was in a position where I could, as a staff person, take classes, and I loved programming. I got quite involved with computers at that point, and that was really useful because I think the basic thing that I learned was that if I slowed my mind down enough and didn't listen to all of the "you can't do that," I could understand almost anything.
I remember when we talked earlier, Minnie, I think you made the comment to me that you thought for much of your life maybe you didn't have so much confidence in yourself.
This is true.
Right. Can you say something more about that?
I was born in Brooklyn. This was a good thing. Brooklyn Dodgers were my passion then. But I was born and lived at a time when to be different was very difficult. I don't think it's ever easy, but the 40s and the 50s was not a time to be growing up in the kind of rigid, stereotyped atmosphere that those years were. And I think the way I handled it was to withdraw. And I spent and I'm pretty sure my memories are accurate of this, I felt most of the time sort of underwater.
When you were growing up?
Yeah.
So
I
mean, you were different, that you didn't fit in.
Accurately. It was definitely an accurate perception. And that, wasn't easy. When I came out as a lesbian, that's when things opened up for me. And it's very, many women and men of my generation, that's very true for.
I think I remember you're telling me that maybe before you came out as a lesbian that you felt you were dead to yourself. Does that?
Yeah, I mean that kind of thing where you, I can express it in many different ways. But if there's something about you that most of what you're surrounded with says is like no good, and you internalize that, and it takes a long time to get over that. And it wasn't until, as I say, there was a context that made sense to me. There were people who I could relate to, who could relate to me. There was a whole community. Living in Northampton in the 70s was wonderful. And
we're talking about Northampton, Massachusetts.
Yeah. And there was all kinds of ways that I could relate to the world around me that I hadn't been able to
and
before.
feel that you belonged.
Correct.
So it sounds like you're saying that certainly contributed to your feeling more confident about who you were as a person.
Yeah.
In all ways.
In all ways, I think, though, that it wasn't until that experience at Hampshire that I thought, I didn't think I was stupid, but where I had confidence in my mind, where I had confidence in being able to operate on different levels than I had thought that I could. When the track in your mind is, I can't do it, that's a tremendous block. So...
Right. So I guess you're referring to just learning all the new technology, which you had told yourself that you couldn't do.
Correct.
Right. But you didn't have the mind for it, or something.
I didn't have the mind for it, and as I said, technology was the bane of the. Who wants these machines to take over?
Well, I have to tell you, I can really resonate with this because I didn't start out to be comfortable at all with technology myself. And when I went back to graduate school when I was in my 40s to get my PhD, I suddenly had to learn how to use a computer.
Right.
And,
yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people.
Completely changed my life, yeah. So we want to talk about your photography because I know that is your first love.
Yes.
But just to connect with what you're saying about the spiritual community, where I guess you're saying that you discovered how to maybe let go of some of those ego things that we all have. And
I don't know about let go of, but I think a simple way of saying it is being able to see myself and my experience more objectively. But where it relates to the photography very much for me is that in a certain way, and I've been thinking about this a lot, meditation and photography to me are one and the same. I see something that catches me, that captures me. Everything else goes away, and it's just trying to capture what it is that I'm seeing, and then there's that process of simplifying, which is what a part of what you're doing in meditation. And there's so much about photography for me that's a way of sharing. It's a way of sharing an experience that I see that I want other people to be a part of. And it's been something where I say this and my friends laugh at me, but it's made me, I think, a nicer person. I want to connect with people. I want to find what it is that we share, what we have in common, and what it is that really makes us able to find some kind of intimacy, even in the smallest moments. And a lot of that can happen from sharing something that I feel passionate about.
And sharing something that's probably very personal to you. Your vision and your view of these pieces that we're seeing on the screen now.
I think one of the most gratifying parts of my life now are the relationships that I have with not just other photographers, but with people where there's so much give and take. Wow, isn't that nice? How did you do that? Or I don't necessarily want everybody to say that's great. I love the, hey, did you think about trying this? Or did you think about maybe this would work better? And there are people with whom I can have that kind of dialogue. So it's all
about your pictures.
About the pictures, but it always leads to more. But and it's a kind of sharing that I really value, and that very much relates to what I came to discover in the spiritual realm, which I don't see as separate from any other.
Well, I find that fascinating idea about how meditation and photography are coincide for you so much.
Yes.
And I was thinking about your saying that because you mentioned that to me the other day when we spoke. And my sense is that's probably the case for anything. That the more the more we're present to what we're doing, the more spiritual it is, if you want to use that word, spiritual.
Right.
I'm delighted that you found it and that we found each other here.
Right.
And thank you for coming, Mimi.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
And telling your story and showing your picture.